Morning. Yesterday wasn't a very interesting day. I just moved a pile of stuff from here and sort of opened this up and moved some bits from here. We had a tidy up and sweep, so I didn't bother filming that. Today I think we're going to start with the structure of rebuilding this section. So we've got to make our panels to go along there. The supports and everything arrive from Travis Perkins hopefully today, but I'm not sure. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. They were a bit unsure. They had to order some bits in for me. There'll probably be some other bits in the day as well, but our general job, the thing that we're going to be getting on with, is that. I have a few fairly big deliveries arriving as well, so we might get distracted because one of them's a Land Rover Defender, which will be turning up at some point in the near future. It's on its way from Devon, so it's a big journey, which is why I don't quite know when it's arriving. And we've got some solar panels, which, so there's a few deliveries that, plus the boiler, or the water heater, that's coming as well. So if they arrive, you might have a look at that. But that's the general jobs for today, and we'll see how we get on with it. Really looking forward to the solar panels arriving because at the minute I'm having to charge the generator every single morning. We've got it's usually how we wake up. It's very, very little, but the generator doesn't have to make a racket, and it's nice and serene here. But as soon as you this is how you start the day. And then it just stays like that for most of the morning and then most of the evening. So I'm really looking forward to the panels, because at least then it'll be nice and quiet. So I've cleared it out as best, well, I mean it's cleared. Now I need to undo the support work I did before. By support work I mean wedged piece of timbers. This one's just wedged, just need to push that down. This one's just wedged, just need to push that down. But this is the standard of timber that I'm dealing with. It's like eaten through. But that's a structural piece, and some of these are attached here and at the top, like this one here. And I mean, this one's the worst. I'm surprised that's still standing, if I'm honest. At least it's in the middle there, it's not in a join, so if this one goes, we've got the end one and the one down there. So I'm going to cut, well, what I want to happen is, I want this roof and that front wall gone, and I want this and the rest of the uprights staying. I'm gonna replace them eventually, but I don't want to get into putting the roof down right now. I just want to get it enclosed, and although they're rotten through, they are still standing, and if I can enclose them, they don't get any more wet. I can add supports left and right to it, and that's going to be easier for now than it is completely redoing the whole barn, because I'm just trying to get it done whilst we're in the good part of the season. Trying to get this enclosed. So I'm going to chop those bits off with the Sawzall. I'm going to tie the quad bike onto this wall here, and I'm going to pull. And hopefully it'll fall in a nice flat pack and not destroy any of the barn that I want to keep. But who knows what's going to happen. I think this is going to be one of those don't do it at home things, because I'm going to be underneath whilst cutting these off, which is a long way from ideal, but we do these things, don't we? I'm going to add a support in there because there is nothing holding that apart from my biggest concern is that this falls, it pushes into this and we just lose it. Tool's clear, it's separated, there's a rope, let's just cut that. Separated there, that's all separated. Where do you want to watch it from? You're probably in the best place as it is. Well, in truth, I feel a bit close to that now. Cool, that was lucky. I mean, lucky that the second bit folded, because if this bit hadn't collapsed in, I suspect that would have swung round and karate chopped this bit. But as it was, got away with a fair amount of that. I think I'll have to chop this in two. That might be a slower. See that? So I separated these two because I didn't want all of this to come down in one bundle. Alright, best get chopping. Thought I'd go and have my lunch down by one of the streams today. I've got salmon, tuna, some veg. Probably just leave that there for a minute. I was having some bad dreams. Not last night, night before, about gates. There's so many of them here, and then only the front gates are hung. The others are all just strapped on with string, and they're super difficult to open because they weigh a ton. But I think the main reason I was getting bothered by them is because the gate to the farmer's field is just not on, like there was no gate. And occasionally he has, 50, 100 sheeps, 50, 100 sheep in his in that field, and it's just open to our land, which means we end up with tons of sheep all over the place. But it doesn't look that far from where it was, the other gate, so I needed to get it. But whoa, when I was carrying it down here, it was a long way. So got this gate here, which again is not hung and weighs a ton. But there we, this is So there's the grove, you know, all the pine trees and stuff, pretty bit. This is the bridge of death, which will kill one of us one day because it's all rotten. Just be careful you tread because it's tumble down to your demise. And then we've got this little bit here, which is where the sheep are getting into. And they seem to be getting, so you see the gate there? That's the gate I brought down here and just wedged there because that was just open. That's the farmer's pen. He owns all the land up the hill, all that up there, back where to we are. But they were coming into this bit, and because they were packed in, you know, there's lots of them in a small bit, they would just come into here, and there's gaps you can get into there and over the river. So I lugged that gate down here to block it off, because I think that fence there is fairly sound. Can't see any gaps in it, but that was just open, and they were coming in here, and I'm no sheep herder. I'm no shepherd. Shepherd? Are they shepherds? It sounds a bit biblical. But yeah, the idea of trying to get rid of many sheep, I'm having a hard time with 4, but it was keeping me up. So I moved that yesterday whilst tidying up everything else, and now hopefully there'll be fewer sheep for me to try and herd. Pretty sure we've got a monster predator around here. I just found another sheep carcass. That makes a total of like 3 I've found in the past few days, and they've all been either all the sheep like dying in places like this, or something's dragging them there. But we keep finding them under alcoves, I don't know what you call them, like all the places where it's nice and shady, you kind of make yourself a bit of a den. I had a thought whilst I was eating my lunch, and I was eating the salmon, and I'm not that keen on fish bones. Like, I don't like the feel of them in my mouth. It feels a bit like eating hair or something. I don't, hey, there we go, look, that's what I mean. Some old sheep bones, and it's sort of like, kind of looks like you would drag the sheep there, wouldn't you? Be exciting if we did have something. Well, I don't know. Yeah, I had a thought. I was eating the salmon, and I thought, I don't like fish bones, like I've just said. And I wondered how long it'll be before they make a boneless fish, kind of engineer some kind of meat product. And it suddenly occurred to me, and it's relevant in a way to off-grid living, because we're in a bit of a problem. On one hand, I feel like that's a bad thing, right? Engineering meat, engineering foods, making these artificial products. They're a bad thing, aren't they? You feel like that's messing with things, it's got to be less healthy, it's more likely to cause cancer. But we've got this problem, haven't we, where how are you going to feed the quantity of people we have with the supply of fish or meat or other substances affordably and scalably, without just eradicating or damaging the, we use fish in this example, the fish population? Like, how are you to do that? And I suppose you can make large farms, but I'm no expert on farming, but I think I've heard that farms are having difficulty keeping up with demand. Perhaps that's why price for good quality meat creeps up, because if you're buying the good stuff, then there's less of it, so, you know, supply demand, price goes up. But the best answer for mankind on an individual basis is to eat sustainably. So you have sustainable fish that you can eat without damaging the population, but you can't do that for the scale of the population that we have now and are expected to have in the future. So you've got this juxtaposition between the best thing for the individual and then the best thing for us as a species. A species from a perspective of growth, right? And then we get into sticky areas, don't we, with should we as a population continue to increase our numbers, and how would you how would you manage that? And I don't know the answer. It's quite a complicated topic. But it's similar, or at least it relates to off-grid living, because in a similar way, off-grid living is the best way, I think, for individuals. But you can't do this to scale, because as soon as you start to have everybody living off-grid, it does start to make more sense to connect everybody to a unified grid, because that's sort of what communities do, don't they? If you all had your own individual solar panels, you all had your own individual septic tanks, you'd be like, well, if we're in a village of 100, doesn't make sense to have 100 septic tanks, let's have one big septic tank. So it's a bit of a complicated issue. Personally, you're making this journey and it's right for us, but it's complicated thinking about whether mankind should change its ways and how it should. It's got me thinking. Let's go see if we can't find that panther. So I've got most of this disassembled. I'm hoping to keep a lot of these good ones. It's my plan to do some raised planting beds, and when you're doing anything to scale, it's so expensive. So I'm kind of hoping that I'm going to be able to make a bit of a frame, peg some bits of 2x4 or something in the corners, and then use these between just to hold the soil in. I've seen you can buy some nice new ones that are rounded and pre-made and stuff, but I reckon it's all going to rot. And you can buy, if I've got this lying around, then I'm going to try and use some of it. Some of it's too bent, I'm not going to be able to use all of it, but some of it I can. These, we've got two posts that seem to be nice and sturdy, like they don't move at all, so that's a bonus because I can use some of that to support. The other one is there. So, and these look like they might have been telegraph poles at some point, because they are nice and smooth, whereas the natural logs or trees seem to have rotted, which perhaps says that, you know, pressure treatment really does work. I mean, you know it works, right? But here's an indication as to the difference of what happens when you do or don't treat them. Some of the wood as well, I think I'm going to try and save, because I'd like to, I'm not going to use it for anything structural, but I think if I pull all the nails out, chop the ends off, because the ends are rotten and there are some sections of it that are pretty bad, but inside it looks all right. So I'm going to see if I can't save some of these, use them for workshop related stuff, especially these really long ones. There's some, and they were along the floor. I mean, I suppose they were structural, but these are really big, so I might use them for one of my bridge projects, or I don't know, but they're too good to be thrown away or burnt. But most of the wood, and the reason I'm putting it down, most of the wood is rotten, kind of powdery, so not much use. And we've got a big pile down here which will be going on the bonfire, most of it really, but even if that was savable, it's not the highest grade timber. It's more like gravel boards and stuff, like thin, not much use for building anything other than covering a side maybe. But yeah, that's all going on the bonfire. I found this thing and I was like, wow, that is a really odd plant, look at it. And then I realised it's probably just a broom, that the bristles have still survived, but the wooden bits rotted away. So they're I was like, wow, it's some kind of, it was underneath like piles of wood, and it looks a little bit like an alien fish at the bottom of the sea, because it's all pale and sort of nylon-y. And then I realised it's probably because it is nylon. So yeah, I think next job, move all that down to the bonfire, start the bonfire, and give this a proper sweep up. Try to collect all the nails together so there's none of them stuck in, I'm sure there's one or two, but as few of them stuck in the ground as possible for, you know, treading on them's sake. But yeah, it's just something super satisfying about taking something really falling apart and then just making it nice and clean, or clean as mud can be, but you know, tidy, I suppose, is a better way of putting it. Amy needs the invoices from these parcels, so let's have a look at these heaters. Might seem an odd time of year to be getting heaters. We've also got the insulation for the underneath of the caravan ordered, and I'm trying my best to get ready for winter while it's I mean, it's probably not summer anymore. The leaves are starting to fall on some of the trees, so it's probably at the very end of summer. It's probably the last heat wave we're going to get, but it's the worst thing waiting until winter and then realizing you need heating or it's too cold. I'd rather just be ready for it, so that when the temperature starts to drop, I've already installed these. They need different transformers, you have to set them up, so that's why we're ordering heaters when it's 30 degrees outside. I ordered one before that I tested and I was pretty pleased with it, but it's not very portable. And I have to say, these look very good. They are in a carry case. They've got a separate fuel tank. So, yeah, I mean, I was planning on getting a bigger fuel tank because then I can just, you know, put a big one of those in the workshop and then run it to this. But that's the exhaust, that's the heating outlet. And it's got a remote controller, power, which I don't have. I wonder if it actually opens. Looks like it does. Oh, nice. It's got all the bits inside. So, yeah, I have to say that is a winner. You know, that's the heating tube that you run to wherever you're going to run. Now we do have some kind of, there it goes for the power. This was a 12 or 24 volt, 12 volt system. So they're designed for vans, like caravans and van conversions and stuff, but they just put out a ton of heat. And I'm pleased with this because the idea is to have the unit somewhere inside, because the motor itself generates some heat. And then the tube that comes off here also generates heat, and the exhaust which comes off here also generates heat, but you want the exhausted outside so you don't get fumed to death. But if you put the whole thing outside and just duct inside, you're losing all the heat that this is generating and the exhaust is generating. So I wanted one that I could easily move around if I need to. The other one I'll show you, because that was £150, and this one was the same money, and I prefer the box style because they do some tall thin ones, but I think these fit in a bit better. This is okay, but it's a lot, like you see, there's the outside duct, there's the exhaust. I just preferred this style, I think. So I've got two of them, or three in total. That one's just there because that's where it's going. It's not actually connected or anything at the moment. So. All right, we've got the fire going. Cardboard as a starter works like a treat. Got something done today. Feels great because the last few days, the last few videos, we've been trying to get stuff done and got stuck every time. So yeah, that's all down now, all nice and tidy. Fire on, so I'll get rid of most of this tonight, I should think. Yeah, feel good about today. That was a weather obviously helps because it's amazing, but next video I'm going to be starting constructing the new bit. That'll be the next. Travis Perkins might be here tomorrow. They were supposed to be here today, but I suspect they get held up with our stuff coming into them. So yeah, next one should be the start of the construction. I don't want to leave it open too long because we've just got it nice and dry, nice and clean. So yeah, the next job, which will be tomorrow, should be getting with that. So if you're interested in that, come join us. We'll see you there.